Hi guys, thank you very much for being part of the webinar today, and especially for letting me be part of the webinar and tell you a little bit about digital relationships and why we think they are so valuable. My name is Wildhagen. I am a medical doctor by training and the CEO and co-founder of Ariana Health. Yeah, this is me standing in the operating room. So I used to work as a surgeon, and you can see me here being young and looking very happy. Actually, it couldn't be much further from the truth because yes, I was young at the time, but I certainly wasn't very happy. I was actually quite frustrated with what I was doing because what I learned very early on as a doctor is that there is a pretty limited overlap between what people want and their health. So actually, this is what I understood. Um, People are humans, and as humans, I think everyone knows we don't like to think about the future. We like to think about the now, and the now is populated with things like chocolate and our couches and cigarettes that want to be smoked. And they are certainly not filled with thinking about prevention and yes, there are a few of us who go to the gym, but in general, thinking about 7 billion people, the overlap between health and what people want is extremely limited. So already during my early career, I was thinking, how can we get people to do this? So symbolized by the two hands holding and actually coming together, I think this is a very good metaphor for a situation where we do see an overlap. So when do we want to hold someone's hand? We want to hold someone's hand when we're feeling sick, when we're feeling worried, and when we want someone to be there and comfort us. And thinking about the topic of health, actually, the overlap between what people want and how they are feeling is unfortunately not health but disease. When they are ill, they want a companion, they want someone who can support them and help them. So if we look at what patients want, it's personal and emotional support. I mean, think about what you do when you're not feeling well. You call your mom, you call your best friend, and ideally you'd want them to pick up that phone or to answer that WhatsApp message that you sent them. So it's all about on-demand access. And you want this to be intuitive and you want it to be easy, right? So I don't want to have to log into something or download something or be super cumbersome. I just want to pick up the phone. I want to send a WhatsApp message to my mom and I want to say, Mom, I'm feeling like shit today. And that brings us to communication in preferred channels. I want my friends and my support system to be there where I'm just communicating with them every day. So Ariana Health, my company, is a chatbot company. So obviously we think that chatbots are the answer for all the reasons we've mentioned above. They can live in someone's preferred communication channel. Everyone knows how to interact over chat. And this is a very intuitive and on-demand way of communicating. And if this will play, and I think it should, here you can see a demo version of how this would look like with Ariana. So this is about a patient who is sadly ill. She has a serious chronic disease and she has to inject herself with a biosimilar. It's more or less taking a syringe and sticking it into her body and injecting herself with an antibody. So not an easy feat. No wonder you'd want someone to be here. And apparently Lisa is not having the greatest success with her drug therapy so far because she said, well, she's not really seeing any improvement. So this is where Ariana picks up and starts motivating her and saying, hey, you know, other patients have similar problems as you do. And then she says, but it hurts too much. And here you can see it's really colloquial with the number 2 being used. And that's also something Ariana can pick up on. So now she has to gauge, like, is this really a medical problem or is this something she's allowed to handle? So we can do scoring, pain score 1 to 10. Fortunately for Lisa, it's only a 4, so they can continue. And then you see with a chatbot, you can have really seamless, media-rich experience. And chatbots also preserve context. So Ariana can ask Lisa, well, did you manage? And Lisa says, yes, my partner helped me. And that's something Ariana will keep in mind for the next time And then there is a fun little GIF with a dog and raining confetti, which I think should highlight that help and support doesn't have to be super serious. What makes a chatbot useful? I hope that I've already showed quite a bit of that. If we're looking at it from a user perspective, we want to create a chatbot. We want to create Ariana in a way that people will really like her. So it's about building a personality that the user loves. It's about when do you communicate, in which tonality do you communicate, which nudges do you employ. Then obviously, if I'm talking to someone, I want them to understand me. So it's all about having a strong and contextual NLU, natural language understanding in place. And ultimately, the information that Ariana gives the patients should be useful and relevant. So that's, I think, the three main components that go into a successful healthcare chatbot, a useful healthcare chatbot from the patient perspective. Now, helping patients is great, and it's what I get up for in the morning, but obviously this has to scale, and for it to scale, someone has to pay for it. So the question is, how do you find someone who's going to pay? Because in the B2C market, usually there's not a lot of money. So what we did is we looked at the healthcare industry, because these are people who are already making money around, well, unfortunately, ill health, but trying to improve it. So how can we tie Ariana into the products and services that our multinational B2B partners are already offering, add value to that, and thus generate the revenue we need to reach 7 billion people? Well, first of all, the system needs to be safe and secure. So this is all about complying, for example, with the GDPR, or in the US with HIPAA. It's about hosting on secure servers. It's about encryption, and it's obviously about how you deal with private information. The next thing is the system needs to be scalable. So if we look at our B2B partners, these are really multinational companies who service many, many millions of people. So we need to build a system that can scale to answer that demand. And in the end, and this is where it connects to the patient side of things, we have to build an Ariana that is so engaging that people will interact with her long-term and share their data. And that makes Ariana more useful to the patient, but it will also help deliver convincing engagement. So from my experience as a doctor, what really works in moving the needle is having a relationship with someone. And if you can have a relationship with someone and reach them on a one-to-one level, that's where you get change. And if you get change, that's where you see health impact. And if you see health impact, you see outcomes. And that's actually something that our partners can market and sell. So as I had already mentioned, the more a user interacts with Ariana, the more useful she'll get. So really, data is the driver to that loop. And what's really important for us, it's not data for the sense of data. So it's not reaching on the users and trying to get as much information out of them as possible and siphon it off. It's really about, and that's like the USP and the core value of what we do with Ariana, creating a system that will adapt to the personal style of the user. So I am a woman, I am 40 years old, so now you know. I am a mom, I'm a doctor, I live in Germany, and I run my own company. So as much as I like to think this is a super unique profile, probably it isn't. So if I'm diagnosed with, let's say, MS, multiple sclerosis, and another woman with the same profile is diagnosed with the same diagnosis, and we both start chatting to Ariana, then initially Ariana will look very much the same for both of us. Going forward, in a week from now, in a month from now, in a year from now, this will change. So the product we're building really adapts. And that's where the whole usefulness comes in, and where the relationship building comes in that I've mentioned. So initially, we'll start with something that is a very rough, like demographic segmentation. So the criteria I have just mentioned. The next stage is to move on to behavioral criteria. So for example, when does Carol like to get messages? Well, I mean, Carol's a busy mom and she runs a company, so probably I can reach her over lunchtime and late in the evening. Someone else might prefer the mornings. When does Carol like to schedule activities? Once again, you know, she can take a walk over lunchtime. That's probably the best way to engage her. And that is like the holy grail of personalization, is we move on to the topic of attitudes. Like, how does Carol like to communicate? Are her messages long? Are they short? Does she use a lot of emoji? Does she use formal or informal language? What does she think? What type of person is she at her core? And obviously, we're not there yet, but that's what we're driving towards, and that's what's going to make Ariana a very personal experience. So, I mean, this is like my final page, and my marketing department says I have to leave this on for at least 30 seconds, so I'll continue talking. No, but seriously, I think in a nutshell, if I go through the 20 years of my career as a doctor, as a management consultant in the healthcare practice of the Boston Consulting Group, working for the World Economic Forum, and now having my own company, I think the three messages to take away from this is, sadly, there is limited overlap between what people want and health, but we can support them when they're not healthy anymore. It's number one. Number two, the only thing that really works in the long term is building a personal relationship. And number three, and that's the one I am super happy about and super proud, and that's why I'm actually running this company now, is finally, technologically, we're at a point where this is something we can scale. Okay, guys, that's it. And I'm happy to answer any questions.